Things at home have been really good for about a week. Roderick has the flu, so he doesn't have the energy to bother me. And Manny has been at Grandma's, so I've had the TV all to myself. Yesterday, Mom and Dad made a surprise announcement. They said they were going away for the night, and that me and Roderick were in charge of the house. That was some pretty big news, because Mom and Dad have never left me and Roderick on our own before. I think they've always been afraid that if they go away, Roderick is going to have a huge party and trash the house. But with Roderick knocked out with the flu, they must have seen their big chance. So after Mom gave us a speech about responsibility and trust and all that, they took off. The second Mom and Dad walked out the door, Roderick jumped up off of the couch and picked up the phone. Then he called every friend he knew and told them he was having a party. I thought about calling Mom and Dad to tell them what Roderick was up to, but I've never actually been to a high school party before, so I was curious. I decided to just keep my mouth shut and soak it all in. Roderick told me to get some folding tables out of the basement and bring a couple of bags of ice out of the downstairs freezer. Roderick's friends started to show up around 7 o'clock, and before you knew it, there were cars parked up and down the street. The first person to walk through the door was Roderick's friend Ward. A bunch more people started showing up after that, and Roderick told me we were going to need more tables, so I went downstairs to get them. But as soon as I stepped foot in the basement, I heard the door lock behind me. I pounded on the door, but Roderick just cranked up the music to drown me out, so I was stuck down there. Man, I should have known Roderick would go and pull something like that. I guess it was pretty dumb of me to think Roderick was going to let me in on the action. It sounded like it was a pretty wild party. I think some girls even showed up at one point, but I couldn't be too sure because it was hard to keep track of what was going on from just looking at the bottoms of people's shoes through the crack at the bottom of the door. The party was still going strong at 2 a.m., but that's when I gave up. I spent the night on one of the spare beds in the basement, even though there were no blankets on it. I practically froze to death, but there was no way I was going to use a blanket from Roderick's bed. Somebody must have unlocked the basement door overnight, because when I woke up this morning, it was open. And when I walked upstairs, it looked like a tornado had touched down in the family room. The last of Roderick's friends wasn't gone until 3 in the afternoon, and once everyone left, Roderick told me I had to help him clean up. I told Roderick he was out of his mind if he thought I was helping, but then Roderick said that if he got busted for the party, he was taking me down with him. He said if I didn't help him clean up the mess, he would tell all my friends about the thing that happened to me this summer. I couldn't believe Roderick would play dirty like that, but I could tell he was serious, so I just got to work. Mom and Dad were supposed to be back by 7 o'clock, and we still had a ton of work to do. It wasn't easy to erase all the evidence of the party, because Roderick's friends had left trash in all these crazy places. At one point, when I went to make myself a bowl of cereal, a half-eaten piece of pizza fell out of the box. So I've had the TV all to myself. All to myself.
All to myself. All to myself.
So I've had the TV all to myself. I decided to just keep my mouth shut and soak it all in. Soak it all in.
Soak it all in. Soak it all in.
I decided to just keep my mouth shut and soak it all in. And before you knew it, there were cars parked up and down the street. Before you knew it,
Before you knew it, before you knew it,
and before you knew it, there were cars parked up and down the street. But Roderick just cranked up the music to drown me out. Just cranked up the music.
just cranked up the music, just cranked up the music.
But Roderick just cranked up the music to drown me out. Roderick was going to let me in on the action.
Gonna let me in on the action. Gonna let me in on the action.
Roderick was going to let me in on the action. I told Roderick he was out of his mind if he thought I was helping. He's out of his mind.
He's out of his mind. He's out of his mind.
I told Roderick he was out of his mind if he thought I was helping.